of our 10-week course. I'm really fortunate that we kind of got to this point, but I want to thank everybody for joining us for these past 10 weeks. I think it's been a really great course. It's the first time we've had it, so I'm really excited about the turnout and really most important, all the beekeepers that partook in this course. So whether you're watching these live sessions, recorded sessions, I want to thank you guys all for all your comments and think about how we can improve this course in the future. A few notes before we have a representative from Hives for Hero, Charlie, talk about their organization. I sent you guys the Colony Loss Survey. So the Colony Loss Survey is open until April 30th. But Texas A&M has been teaming up with Auburn University and the Apiary Inspection Service to get access to all the Texas specific data. And so it's really important to get really, I guess, high quality colony loss data across the state of Texas. We've had some colony loss numbers from Project APSM and Honeybee Health Coalition, but those are mostly from the commercial beekeepers. And so we really want to learn more about what's the extent of the colony losses here in Texas. So we have about 218 participants in Texas, which is definitely the highest among any state in the union. But if we can get as many participation as possible, whether you have one colony, whether you have 10 colonies, please take that survey. I'll send another link afterwards, but we have until April 10th or April 30th. And with that, I'll have Charlie talk about Hives for Heroes. I know that you guys don't need to do volunteer hours, but if you guys do decide to progress through the program and go to the advanced level, there will be volunteer hours required for the advanced level. So mentoring and partnering with Hives for Heroes is a really great organization, and I'll let Charlie kind of take it away.
Cool. Thank you, Garrett. Well, I don't know. I don't spend a whole lot of time on Teams, but I do notice that there's a raise your hand flag. It's at the top of the screen. I'd like to ask you how many folks here know about Hives for Heroes. Just go ahead and raise your hand on the button on the top, and I'll keep rolling through that. Hives for Heroes, we're here to help veterans and first responders adjust, adapt, and continue their lives. Be very blunt about it. I don't sugarcoat much, and I don't have a filter. Our focus is on keeping guns out of mouths. How do we do that? We do that by pairing mentors with first responders and veterans who aspire to be beekeepers. We are one of a tool. We're not a bee organization. We're a people organization that utilize bees to help our veterans and first responders get them adjusted, help them get through tomorrow. That's what we do. That's how we do it. Here in Texas, we're approximately, and I say approximately because I haven't done a map and update for about a week now. We're over 1,200. We're just a shade under 1,300 members strong here across Texas. So just think about it. Garrett said that you got 260 folks that are registered into the survey right now. Just think what Texans can do to, I won't say skew, but Texan participation in that process would make a significant difference if you not only get involved with Hives for Heroes, but also help us, Garrett, and beekeepers across the state report how their hives have been doing. It doesn't take long. It doesn't ask you to give up your firstborn child, but it does help out our community as a whole. So please do that. Now, going back to my wonderful world of Hives for Heroes, we are scattered all over the countryside. We're in all 50 states. Total membership is right now beekeeping membership. I'm not counting the folks that are volunteers, not counting the folks that are helping us out doing other things, whether it's front office support or whatever, but actual beekeepers with Hives for Heroes is approaching 8,100 nationwide. And we're doing quite well. How do we help? Well, you have no idea, you may not have an idea of what it means to have the human touch applied. So that one beekeeper, that one mentor, or assisting that one veteran, that one first responder makes a big difference when they're working in their yard, your yard perhaps, and working and developing and helping that all along. Here, I'm going to roll over and share my screen if you don't mind.
Yep, that works.
Okay. let's see. And where's my this? And I gotta get back out of that and get into that. This is Hives for Heroes in Texas. I'm gonna scoot it over a little bit. Uh, get El Paso at the far left-hand side of my screen, and you can see where all of the folks that are newbies that haven't been paired are with mentors. I know, when you're working on a 13-inch screen, it probably looks like a big red mass or a big red blob with a couple of other colored darts on it. But what it comes down to, here in Texas, we have currently 22 unassigned mentors or mentors without newbies, but we have over 650 unassigned newbies that are looking for mentors. And whether it's there down from San Antonio all the way up to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, all the way out to Houston, all the way over to Texarkana, we're looking for folks. You can see the line going down what is not essentially I-20, where there are folks out there looking for mentors. So and you can ask the question, what is a mentor? We're looking for a person, an established or a developing beekeeper that has confidence. They have fire, they have enthusiasm, and they also have a support network behind them. There isn't a beekeeper out there, it doesn't make any difference whether it's 1 year worth of experience or it's 21 years of experience, that they know everything about it. What it does take is for you to be, or for us, just to be smart enough and wise enough and I'll say just bashful enough just to ask somebody, hey, what happens if I do this? What happens? What is this? What is making this happen? Why am I seeing that? So it's a case of we can grow mentors, we can make mentors, we can assist those folks, those those un those unpaired newbies grow to become mentors in their own right. It takes time. Nobody's asking anybody to do cheetah flips to learn everything you can out of the master beekeeping program and think that that's going to solve world hunger for beekeeping in the state of Texas, but it will help. Now, what you can ask the question, what do we do? How can we help? Well, I'll tell you right now, if you'll join Hives for Heroes and you become a mentor, and even if you're not a member of Hives for Heroes right now, and you would like to be a member, or you're already a mentor, or you're already a member, get the M's right. The idea of it is we will reimburse you for each phase of success that you successfully complete of the Master Beekeeping Program. So, by rights, come June when you take that first test up in Abilene, and you complete this phase, the apprenticeship phase of the program, you're a member of Hives for Heroes. Want to see your DD-214 for those in the military, or something from your city if you're a first responder, saying that you are a first responder. Give us your receipts. Give us your receipts. Send them to hivesforheroes or support at Hives for Heroes, and we will reimburse you. We will reimburse you for that phase, or this phase, let's say, of your Texas Master Beekeeping Program. And then you can get your high boots on and get ready to start the next year with the advanced phase. Same. We want our individuals to be accredited. We want them to be full of education, and we also want them to be qualified, sticky, dirty, and happy working with bees. There's no other way to put it. I enjoy the hell out of my job. Meeting veterans, talking to first responders, talking to other mentors across the country, and even here in Texas. Love it to death. I've been here now for 23 years, enjoying Central Texas. But there's even something better when you get to meet the rest of the people of Texas and figure all that out. And it's not just going to the Texas Beekeepers Association shows, and we got a flag on a table saying, hey, come on by, stop and talk with us, because we'll be in June up in Abilene. We'll be in other places. I go out to as many bee shows as I can, or bee schools, bee clubs, wherever we got to in the state. I think the next thing I've got going on is I'll be up at Lufkin at the VFW in Lufkin, the middle of May. Uh, got a couple schools to go to in the local area for me, but we're out and about because we want to meet with people, work with folks, bring in folks, like-minded folks, or just somebody that may have a wild hair somewhere that they want to talk about, they want to exercise, they want to do whatever. We want to have a well-rounded organization. We want to have people that can support our veterans and first responders. And now I'll get off my soapbox and just turn it over to you guys and ask you. Well, I got 57 hands up, or 57 participants, looking really good. And I see we got there are several hands up. Hey, I really do appreciate that. Now, if you want to reach out and touch me, a couple different ways. Number one, my email address is connect@hivesforheroes.org. Hivesforheroes.org, and I'm Connect. Or if you really you want to just bend my ear for a while, let's set up a telephone call where we'll get on either Zoom or Teams or whatever works for you. I'm here to help. I'm here to listen. I'm here to make some things happen.
Yeah, and before we take any questions, we have 250 beekeepers that signed up for this course, and a lot of you are probably getting your bee for the first time or maybe 1 year of experience. But could you imagine if all 254 beekeepers apply to be a mentor? I mean, we could really fulfill that map. And if I'm hoping you guys all decide to progress through the program, and this is a really great opportunity to really help people across the state, while also getting you volunteer hours for the program. So I really encourage you all to sign up for the program and apply to be a mentor.
Now, and part of that is, let me go back. We have our problems. I will tell you that, I hear a lot. I haven't heard anybody from any time, whatever. Pick up the phone, or pick up the keyboard, or put your fingers on the keyboard and connect@hivesforheroes.com. Sometimes the squeaky wheel does get the grease. I personally right now am calling each and every newbie in the state and across the country and ask them, before I get them paired, if they still are interested in learning about beekeeping. It's the way to do it. I want to make sure that I really want that connection made between that mentor and newbie. I know that Hives for Heroes, some folks haven't heard from Hives for Heroes for a while. No excuse now. We're talking right now. We're seeing you, not seeing you, but we're talking to make sure that you're aware. We're here to help you. We're here to help develop the beekeeping community, or enhance the beekeeping community in the state of Texas and elsewhere. I want things to be cooking.
Okay,
All
I
right,
think
now
Billy. Oh, sorry. I
go
think
ahead.
Billy had a question.
Okay, Lucy says, where am I located? We don't have clubs. We don't do clubs. Well, we don't, in the sense of, we are not a club in the normal sense. We look as a fairly flat organization. And what it is it's that mentor and the newbie. Now, yes, there's a front office that's responsible for doing planning, organizing, and sustaining this massive over 8,000 folks. And so what happens? I physically, Coppers Cove, Texas. I'm out and about wherever the state may call me, or, just whenever you got a question, just give me a yell. And I saw the note. We were a .com. We still are a .com, but we asked that people go to .org. We're hivesforheroes.org now. We're kind of winnowing away folks from the .com, because we are a nonprofit. We are a 501c3. Do it every year, and we file every year. All right. And if you want to join, what you can do is go to hivesforheroes.org. That's our webpage, www.hivesforheroes.org. You can go to the top left-hand corner or right-hand corner of the page. It says join us. Click that button and it'll bring you to the pages for either joining as a mentor or joining as a newbie. Doesn't matter whatever you're comfortable being. No arm twisting, no outrageous demands. Just sign up, and then I and a couple other folks will work to make sure that we find a newbie for, or either a mentor for you or a newbie for you as we go. Now, remember though, right now I said that we're about 600 folks under utilized because we don't have mentors for them, but we'll do everything we can to work that out.
Yeah, Russ just joined.
Good.
Yeah, and Lynn had a really good comment. He said, you know, I'm a mentor and is rewarding. We got covered in Honey Saturday moving swarm traps to hives. My newbie gets his bees this spring. And then he mentions you don't have to be an expert to help,
That,
right? So that's really, yeah. So
bingo.
I mean, even if you have 1 year of experience, like you can help out any way possible. And really the best way to learn is to mentor, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. It takes a little bit of time, but it's coordination. But any time spent with somebody that gave their time for their country or the community, you got to commend them. You got to, they're not asking for much except some space. It's really good for all of us.
Okay, are there any other questions? I think I'll have Charlie just send me his information and I'll send everybody an email afterwards. I'll also send it to the entire listserv. We have about 2,000 beekeepers on that listserv. Or if there's another way we can kind of spread this information, just let me know.
Sure. Thank you, Garrett.
Well, perfect. Well, thank you for joining us today. And if there's any other questions, speak now or maybe send an email to Charlie.
Garrett, can I ask a question about Varroa treatment?
You can, yes.
Totally different topic. So I did my very first powdered sugar roll, and one of my hives had a super high count. And so I wanted to do the fogging of the oxalic acid.
Mhm.
And so I looked online, and there's not, is there like a set formula that you mix it in for the fogging, or can I just pretty much take everybody's YouTube videos online for it?
Well, first off, how high are your Vero levels?
Okay, so when I had 22 mites.
22 months through for 300 bees?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so it's one thing with oxalic acid, you have to be aware that you probably have a lot of brood in your colonies. And so, you know, you can't just apply it once and expect to get those mite levels down because a lot of them are hiding inside the brood. And so if you are going to use a vaporizer, I'd probably try to apply it at least maybe every 3 days, every 4 days for at least a couple weeks, just so as those mites emerge, you can kill them that way. As for the formula, I can send you information afterwards. Just shoot me an email, and I can
Okay.
give you some information about how to mix it and how to apply it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Well, thank you very much. And if anything else, I'll send an email about Charlie's information and how to get involved, and we'll kind of go from there. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Bye.
All right. Bye. Okay, perfect. Yeah, that was fantastic. I think Omar is on the. Are you on the call, Omar?
Yes, I am.
Okay, perfect. Well, so Omar is the new program specialist for Dallas Fort Worth area. So I know a lot of beekeepers are on the call, are in that Dallas Fort Worth area. He's located about 5 miles south of the stockyards, and you know his role will be basically supporting all the beekeepers in kind of that larger Dallas Fort Worth area. And so we had Lauren talk a couple weeks ago about swarming bee removal. She introduced herself. She'll be working with beekeepers kind of in the Houston area, whereas Omar will be in Fort Worth. And so I just want to give Omar kind of a chance to introduce himself, maybe share his information, see if you have any questions. And we'll also have the master beekeeping testing for the master beekeepers in Fort Worth. And so whenever we're ready to test, you guys get a chance to meet him and then do testing in Fort Worth. Okay, Omar, you can go.
Hello, everyone. Sorry for being a little late, and sorry for my son. my office have a little echo, but I am from Colombia. I am an animal scientist. I has been working with bees a while. I started working with Africanizing honeybees in Colombia. After that, moved for Brazil for make my master and my PhD in genetics, also with Africanizing honeybees. Have the opportunity to working as beekeepers in New Zealand in the production of Manuka honey for 1 season and a half. After that, come back to Brazil again to work with green propolis. And in the United States, I have the opportunity to join a beekeeper, a migratory beekeeper company, work for 2 seasons, especially working with pollination, almonds, blueberries, making nukes, especially in the part of wind reading. For the last 2 years, I joined a lab in Mississippi State University with Dr. Ismael Amiri, and I has been working on queen breeding and exercise plasticity. For the last week, I joined the group of Texas E&M Agri Life Station. I am so happy for this opportunity, and I am here, like able to help everyone whenever they need or whatever they need. So happy to be in the group.
Yeah, and Omar has a lot of experience with queen breeding and queen rearing, and so we're start working on sort of a queen breeding program. And so one of our goals is to have queen rearing courses across the state, and then some instrumental insemination courses across the state. And I think Omar and both of us can agree that we really need a bigger initiative for queen breeding. We need bees that are resistant to the viruses and varroa, so we can hopefully treat less. And so we'll be doing queen rearing and insemination courses across state. I'm really excited to have Omar on board. And if you have any questions, you want to stop by his office, he's usually there. You can, contact him to see if he's available. But, we'll have bees, probably 15 colonies there in the near future. And hopefully we can start having courses out there. We can start having the master beekeeping testing out there. And, I'm just really excited to have Omar on board to help out all the beekeepers in that area. Okay, perfect. Well, thank you, Omar.
Thank you, Garrett.
Okay, I'm going to go over the testing quick. Okay, so now that we completed this whole 10-week course, all the beekeepers are really ready to take the exam. So, one reason that we're not having the exam, I guess, right away is because, most of the beekeepers are probably getting their bees here shortly. And one of the requirements is to have bees for an entire bee season. And so one of our thoughts is to have testing across the state, probably in kind of mid-August, early September. And then now that we have a full extension team, we'll have testing really across the state. So we're going to have testing in San Antonio, testing in Houston, testing in Overton, East Texas, Dallas-Fort Worth, and then we'll probably have a few testing locations in West Texas. I haven't decided yet, but maybe like El Paso, Lubbock, maybe Midland, Odessa area. But yeah, if there's another testing location that you guys want, or maybe you're part of a club. Yes, Amanda mentioned Austin. We don't have locations there, but maybe we can team up with Doty or somebody in Austin and offer testing in Austin. We really just want to make sure you don't have to drive too far. So Austin would be a good place. Oh, love it. Okay, perfect. And then Lucy said earlier, I thought you heard testing in Abilene. Yeah, so we will have testing in Abilene. So let me share that information. TBA. You go to TBA Summer Clinic, Abilene. We're gonna have all the testing stuff in our face or our website. But here's a summer clinic. So the actual summer clinic and all the courses are on Saturday, June 21st. But we're gonna have the testing the day beforehand on June 20th. And so if you want to take your test in Abilene, the testing will be 1 to 5 p.m. And like I said, you guys already signed up for this 10-week course, so you have to pay for that. And so after this, we'll send an email and you guys just respond to me to let me know if you want to test an Abilene or not, and we'll get you on the list. So if you already had bees for, about a year and you're ready to take the exam, you can take it in Abilene. It's a really great conference, and we're gonna have a social hour afterwards. So I do recommend if you guys can to make the summer clinic, that's a really great opportunity to not only take your test, but meet beekeepers across the state. We'll also have a lot of other events happening the day of the summer clinic. And so, we're doing something kind of different. We're gonna have a kind of a workshop all day. So in the morning, we're gonna have a hands-on beekeeping 101 workshop. So I know this is all online, but if you guys do want to get some hands-on experience, we're gonna have that workshop in the morning of the 21st. And then the afternoon, we're gonna have sort of a mini field day and talk about some of the research that we're doing. So we're gonna have a bunch of different booths. We're gonna show you hopefully how to fly a drone and how we use drones for our research. We'll have insemination set up. We'll have pictures and samples of Tropicalaps mites. And so it's a really great opportunity to meet beekeepers and kind of learn what we're doing at Texas A&M. So I do highly recommend making the summer clinic if you can. I know it's, far distance for a lot of beekeepers. So if you can't make the summer clinic, we'll have testing probably in August, September. So I might send out a poll to see what works for everybody else, but in the meantime, this is what we have right now. We are having testing in San Antonio with at UTSA with Dr. Ozturk. And so if you do want to test in San Antonio around mid-May, I'll send information for that. But like I said, you guys already paid for this 10-week course. And so you guys are already paid for the exam. Any other questions on the exam? Yeah, Russ said, will we know the results of the test the day of? Yeah, so you guys will get results the day of. And then afterwards, we send you guys a certificate. We sent you guys a pin. We sent you guys a lot of gear. And we have a brand new logo too. Let me get a picture of the logo. Hold on one second. So we are working on all new stuff, all new gear for the Master Beekeeping Program. So let me share my screen quick. So here's our Facebook page. So if you're interested in hearing more about some of our testing, you can follow our Facebook page. But this is our brand new logo. So we're working on updating everything to this brand new logo. So we'll have hats and gears and everything that we can kind of hand out to beekeepers in the program. So in the near future we'll have all this gear available. They're kind of working on that right now, but hopefully we have t-shirt and pins and new certificates based on this brand new logo. But yeah, Russ' question was, yeah, we'll have all the results the day of. Trudy mentioned how long will the video stay on YouTube? Yeah, so all the material will be available for really as long as you want. So we have the Google Drive, so you guys all have access to the Google Drive where all the videos, all the reading materials, and everything's on the Google Drive. So you have access to that, and on YouTube, you have access to the videos on YouTube really forever. I don't plan on taking it off anytime soon. So Amanda says, so if I'm getting B's in 2 weeks, I should be able to test. Yeah. Yeah. So on the website, it says you need a year of experience, but I think we're going to change that to kind of one beekeeping year. And so if you're getting your bees in 2 weeks, or maybe have your bees for the first time already, you should be able to take your exam probably August or September. Yes. And if you don't pass your exam, I mean, we have a really high percentage of beekeepers passing the exam, but if you don't, all the testing after that is free. So you can take the test really as many times as you want without paying any additional fees. Okay, any questions on the testing, and we'll keep you guys up to date about all the testing and new testing sites. Yeah, so Dre said, will the May test be on the old system or the current program that you and your crew developed? Yeah, so we're kind of transitioning to kind of a brand new program, but everything's gonna be very similar. The setup of the test will be exactly the same as it always been or has been for the past 10 years. So I'll walk through that. And then Krista says the test fee is included in the class fee. Exactly. Yeah, so we'll send an email. So if you signed up for this test already, you have to pay for the test fee. And then Chris said, are there practice tests we can take? Yep, exactly. So we do have practice tests online, and it's basically a replicate of the tests we have already. So yeah, let me walk you guys all through what the test actually looks like, and I'll walk you through what the practice test looks like. So let me open up, get this quick. Okay, so I have this all in the Google Drive and the Google Classroom, and this gives you sort of an overview of the Apprentice Master Beekeeper exam. Okay, so for the Master Beekeeper plan for the apprentice level, there's two exams. There's a written and a practical exam, and the beekeepers must score at least a 70% on each of the exams. So when you come to testing day, we'll start with you doing the written exam, and then after that, you'll do the practical exam. Now, the written exam is 50 total questions. There's 25 multiple choice questions and 25 true and false questions. And then questions will be drawn from all 10 weeks of the course. Well, I guess basically 9 weeks of the course. And we'll draw about maybe 5 questions from each week. And you must score at least 70%. But if you don't pass the written exam, you can take this as many times without any additional costs involved. But you will still have to come to the testing site to take the exam. Hopefully, eventually we can have this all online, but we'd like to have beekeepers come to some of the conferences. Now, if you want to know what the exam sort of looks like, I'm just going to show the Google Drive quick, but it's in the Google Classroom too. So I have this is the Google Drive, and we have this Apprentice 10-week course test. And so this is what it looked like. So we have 25 multiple choice and then 25 true and false at the end. And like I said, there's about 3 to 5 questions from each week, and we do have a study guide for each one. And so it looks like we already have a response on it, but if you want to take that test, and that gives you kind of an idea what it looks like. And I will say, like most beekeepers pass it, and I really expect you guys, since you guys did take the 7-week course, that you'll pass the whole exam. Okay, now I'm going to go to the practical exam. Okay, so for the practical exam, so you'll take the written exam that has 50 questions, 25 true and false, and 25 multiple choice, and then you go to the practical exam. So the first part of the practical exam will have pictures of various pests, pathogens, and diseases, and we'll have you identify what those pests, pathogens, and diseases are. There'll usually be kind of a word bank, so you can kind of match it up to whatever that picture is. After that, we'll have a bunch of hive equipment on a table, and we'll have you identify what that hive equipment is. So I think there's maybe 15 or 20 pest pathogen diseases and then hive equipment. And so for this, I would really go back to the PowerPoint and reading material for the pest pathogen diseases and know what American foul brood looks like, small hive beetles look like, wax moth looks like, and be able to identify what those are. For the standard hive equipment, this is just, standard length show with colony equipment. So, know how to identify the tools that you use as a beekeeper, know what the different hive equipment looks like to set up your colony, and then be able to identify that part. So after that part, we'll take you out to the field. And one thing we're looking for is, do you know how to light a smoker? So we'll supply everything, and we'll see if you can, light a smoker, and then we'll bring out to a honeybee colony to see if you can inspect a colony. And what we're looking for is, can you identify basically, the different castes and bees within a colony? Can you identify the different life cycles of a colony? That's what we're kind of looking for. Just more importantly, just know if you know how to inspect a colony and identify everything within the colony. Any questions on those? So Dwayne said, are there any books you recommend for reading? Yeah, we do have recommend reading on there, but we did attach reading materials for every single week. So, eventually, probably by the end of the year, we'll have our Texas Master Beekeeper Handbook, and this handbook will be used for all levels of the program. So I've been sending you guys all snippets of the Master Beekeeper Handbook, and so each week's been sort of a different chapter. And so I recommend reading all the reading materials in the Google Classroom or Google Drive and reading up on that. I also attach study guides for every single week. So I just kind of go over the study guide. It gives you kind of things that you should be focusing on. Okay, any other questions about what the exam looks like before I go into the study guides? Okay. All right, let's go into the study guides. I'll kind of go through each week. Yeah, Dwayne, once we have the book complete, I'm hoping by the end of the year, yeah, you guys will get a copy of it. Yeah, and also with the book, our sort of our plan is to have this for every single level. So really the first I think the first 10 chapters are for the apprentice level. The next 10 chapters are for the advanced level, and then we have chapters for the master and master craftsman. And for the master level, there's different majors you can major in. And we'll talk about that more as you progress through the program. But we'll have different, books for every single major. So if you do decide to progress to the program and go to the advanced, the master craftsman, we'll have more and more material for that. But the major master beekeeper handbook is what you're going to use for the entire program. So um, I've been kind of working on that book as we begin going through this 10-week course and the advanced 10-week course, and we'll have that book hopefully ready to go by the end of the year. So we just go edit it, make some new photos, make some videos, but we should have that pretty soon. Okay. Okay, so this is one of the study guides. This is both in the Google Drive and the Google Classroom. So, when you go through the study guide, this kind of tells you things you should focus on. So, know that a honeybee colony is made up of a queen, workers, and drones, and just sort of know the difference of them. So, what does a queen do? What does a worker do? What does a drone do? So, honeybees, function as a superorganism with each bee having specific tasks. Know about a little bit about the colony organization. So, for this apprentice, we won't have any pictures of, what a worker cell, drone cell, and queen cell look like, but we might have questions on, you know, maybe a question based on, oh, we were describing what a cell looks like. What type of worker cell is this? Or what type of cell is this? Is it a worker cell, drone cell, queen cell, and so on? The one thing you should really know is, what is bee space and why is bee space important? And as we talked about history of beekeeping last week, just know of who I really identified that bee space and made, colonies based on it. So, Langstroth, for example, developed the Langstroth colony in 1851, based on this bee space, and that's where we have our removable frames now. We may have questions on how honeybees communicate. More importantly, the waggle dance is used to communicate to other bees about the flower sources. And based on the structure of that dance, that's how they know where to go. I won't worry too much. It's not like we'll have a picture of a waggle dance. You need to say how far away or what direction that flower source is. We're not going too much in depth about that, but just know what the waggle dance is. Know about the different pheromones. So we talk about the queen mandibular pheromone, the national pheromone, the Lauren pheromone. So you might have questions about those different pheromones. And in the reading material, we have sort of a chart, or a table on all the pheromones and what they do. So I would know about the pheromones. That's gonna be really important. We might talk about like a question about tropholaylax. Colony reproduction. So swarming is a really important form of reproduction for the entire honeybee colony. So that's when the queen and half the workforce flies out to form a new home. So you might have questions on, swarming. Now for bee anatomy, you might want to know what the bee anatomy is. So we may have a picture of a worker, and you might see like, oh, this is the mandible, this is the thorax, this is the abdomen, this is the head. We won't go into depth like, hey, this is the midgut or this is the foregut, but just kind of generally know what the anatomy is of a worker bee. I wouldn't know, especially for the practical exam when you take out to the field, to know what the four stages of honeybees are. So, be able to identify what an egg is, a larva is, a pupa, an adult is. And so we take you out to the field and we walk you through the hive inspection. We would expect you to know that, hey, this is a larva, this is an egg. We won't ask you to identify that, but we want you to kind of point that out when you're doing the practical exam. I would know that the development time for honeybees vary based on the sex and the caste. So, for example, 21 workers take 21 days to develop, queens 16 days, and drones take 24 days. So that's really important. And then maybe know the seasonal life cycles. We talked about those four different stages of honeybees. So, stage one is that dormancy phase. Stage two is that population increase stage. Stage 3 is that the maximum size stage, and then stage 4 is when the colonies get smaller and prepare for the winter. So maybe you know the difference between like a summer bee, which lives 21 days as an adult, and then winter bees live multiple months. I wouldn't worry too much about the physiology, so I wouldn't get too much in depth. It's not like we're asking you a very in-depth like physiology question. You might want to know that, hemolymph is basically the blood for the bees. You may not know that honeybees use spiracles to breathe, like very generally, like what honeybees use to really live. So for respiratory system, I would just know that honeybees have trachea and they use spiracles, which are small holes in their body to breathe. For the circulatory system, I would know that honeybees have an open circulatory system where they use hemolymph, which is their blood, to transport nutrients and remove waste from their bodies. And then these, I wouldn't worry too much. But for the endocrine system, I would just know that, well, the exocrine system, I would just know what the different pheromones that honeybees use. We'll probably take about 3 to 5 questions based on this week 2. Okay, now I go into the next week. Okay, let me share for week 4, I guess, when Molly Keck she was talking about getting started in beekeeping. So for this is going to be mostly on the practical exam. And so I would kind of go through her presentation and just know what the different bee equipment looks like. So can you identify, so if we had a feeder on the table, can you identify that's a feeder? Or if we had an entrance reducer, can you identify that's an entrance reducer? So I would just know all the bee equipment. We won't get into like really niche type bee equipment. So, we won't have like a frame holder, for example, but just like very common bee equipment that most beekeepers use. So, I would know what a bee suit is, gloves are, smoker, hive tools, feeders. I wouldn't worry about identifying different types of feeders. So it's not like, we won't have like a Boardman feeder out and high feeder and a top feeder out. We'll just have generally like, hey, this is a feeder. You have to identify that that's a feeder versus a hive tool. We may have questions about the difference between installing or purchasing packages versus nooks versus full frame colonies. So maybe just know about the costs and benefits of having or purchasing a nucleus colony versus a package. And yeah, that's generally about it. I wouldn't worry too much about rest of these. You might have a question about the Texas Apiary Inspection Service and their role, but we won't have too much. This will be mostly on the practical exam, I think. I would know that, when you're setting up a colony, the things to consider. So, what are the major things that honeybee colonies need? They need really access to water, access to pollen and nectar. They might need kind of a shaded area or a fenced area, so maybe know that. But yeah, like I said, this will be mostly on the practical exam. Now we get into week 4, which is yearly management. Okay, now we get to the study guide for the yearly management. Just kind of walks you into hive inspection. And like I said, on this, I give you kind of different steps for hive inspections. And so you kind of want to consider the things I talk about when you do a hive inspection. And when you take you out for the practical exam, just know how to inspect a colony, where to smoke the colony, how to remove the frame. So we want to make sure that you know how to do a proper hive inspection. So, kind of walk through these different inspection steps. So, first off, observing the entrance. So are you seeing any dead bees, diseases, any flight activity at the entrance? Then we do hive inspection, make sure you know how to light a smoker, and then apply smoke at the entrance, remove the hive covers, take out the honey supers, and then do an inspection on the colony. And when you're doing a hive inspection, make sure not to remove the frames from the middle of the box. Make sure to move the outermost frames of the feeder, and then move the frames over, inspect from the middle. We don't want to dock you from removing the frames from the middle. And then we'll have you probably inspect maybe a few frames. So we're looking for, can you identify the different brood stages? Can you identify what a worker looks like? We won't be looking for the queen, but make sure that you know that, hey, there's a queen in this colony, and why is there a queen in the colony? And for this, I would just kind of know what like a brood pattern is and frames of bees. So we talked a lot about doing hive inspections, what to look for. So know how to identify what a frame count looks like, frames of bees, know what a brood pattern look like, and so on. So similar to the last week, the getting started beekeeping, this will also be mostly for the practical exam. Okay, yeah, J Dirk Sheffer. I'll answer your question after this. Okay, now we get into week 5. Let's go to rural management. Yeah, so week 5 we had 2 sections. We have rural management and then pest pathogens and diseases. And so for the study guide, I would know about the life cycle of rural mites. So, we talked about that different life cycles. We had with the phoretic mites. These are the mites that are living on the back of the bees. We talked about the mites inside the brood where they reproduce. So just know what a phoretic mite is and where the mite reproduction occurs. Um, you might want to know the date when Varroa first made to the United States around 1987. So maybe know about that. Yeah, yeah, like I said, know about the biology. We won't have pictures of the mites, but just know about when the mites actually enter the cells. But more importantly, for the viral damage, you might have pictures of, deformed wing virus, for example. So maybe know what a bee with deformed wing virus looks like. Maybe know what parasitic mite syndrome looks like, and be able to identify for the practical exam. Because, like I said, we'll have different pictures up, and we'll say, "Hey, here's a picture. What is this?" We'll definitely have a word bank, and so we'll have a word bank of 10 to match it up with a picture, but still know what a deformed wing virus looks like and parasitic mite syndrome. And then, maybe know the different size of row infestation. So there's basically 5 different stages of row damage. So stage 1 is there's 0 signs of mites. So whether that's a mite wash, deformed wing virus, any visual signs. Stage 2 is when start seeing visual signs in the phoretic mites. So you start seeing mites on the back of the bees. Stage 3 is when you start seeing that chew down brood or even phoretic mites on the back of the bees. Stage 4 is when you see deformed wing virus, and this should be parasitic mite syndrome. Parasitic mite syndrome. And then stage 5 is when you see advanced stage of parasitic mite syndrome. Definitely know how to monitor the mites. You may have a question on, how do you monitor your mites? Like, do you use alcohol wash? Uh, can you just look at the visual observations? Just know how we monitor for the mites. And then we might have different questions on integrated pest management. So, know about the differences or the IPM triangle. So the integrated pest management triangle. So, number one priority is resistant stocks, then mechanical controls, soft chemicals, and hard chemicals. So I probably read up on the different types of the real chemicals that we use for management. So know about thymol for organic chemicals, oxalic acid, and things like that. We might have some questions on brood breaks, and so why are brood breaks really important and how to do a brood break. So, for brood breaks, we can identify natural brood breaks in the colony, which are typically in the fall and the winter. But there's different ways that beekeeper can introduce a brood break. So Wendy had a really great question on, hey, you want to use oxalic acid in a vaporizer. How do you use that? If you have a lot of brood in your colony, the vaporizer isn't going to work as well. So you might want to introduce your own brood break right around now. So maybe caging the queen or queening the colony or splitting a colony could be a really great way to get a brood break and apply oxalic acid. Yeah, so let's talk about just different chemicals, for example. Okay, and then we'll get into the diseases. I'll get into week 5. Sorry about that. Okay, so this one we talked about all the different diseases, and so similar to the practical exam, we'll have different pictures of the diseases. So we talked about, chalk brood is infectious diseases. We talked about American foul brood, European foul brood, and nosema. So basically, just know what those diseases look like. So we have a picture, know how you identify them. But we might have questions about what bacteria causes European foul brood. So Melissococcus plutonius causes European foul brood. So you might have a true and false question on that. Um, we might have a question on American foul brood, where it's a spore-forming bacterial disease. Know the different stages it impacts. So, chalk brood impacts the larval stages. American foul brood and European foul brood impacts the larval stages. So basically just know what life stage that these diseases impact. So we'll have probably 5 or 7 questions on just honeybee diseases. I would probably know about some of the viruses. I'd probably focus just mostly on deformed wing virus. So we'll have a lot of questions on deformed wing virus. For the pests, so we may have some pictures and questions about small hive beetles. We have some pictures and questions about wax moth, mice, things like that. We might ask you specific questions about management to deal with those pests. We might have some questions about non-infectious diseases. We talked about nutritional deficiencies, poor ventilation, pesticide exposure, temperature extremes, things like that, how they impact colony health. We won't have many questions on pesticides. That's more for the advanced level. But we might say generally, can pesticides impact your colony health, things like that. And then we get into week 6, which is feeding and nutrition. Oh, okay. Yeah, so for feeding and nutrition, the one thing we're looking for are like what are the major nutrients or resources that bees are collecting out in the field. And so, we know they're collecting nectar, they're collecting pollen for their protein source, they're collecting water for, ventilation, they're collecting resin that they convert into um, propolis to basically seal up the colony and for antimicrobial properties. So really for the nutrition section, I would really focus on these 4 nutrients and why they're important. For pollen, I would know that, pollen's converted into bee bread, which is sort of a fermented substance that bees can consume. And this bee bread adds in like microbes and other nutrients to the honeybee colony. I guess I would know that nectar is converted into honey. For this, I would also know that the moisture content we recommend for honey. So we recommend, especially if you're harvesting and storing honey, that's less than 18%. So especially for this, I would know that 18% is a really important moisture content for you as a beekeeper if you're pulling and extracting honey. Yeah, as for resin and propolis, I would know, yeah, kind of why this is important. So it's used for sealing the hive and also has antimicrobial properties or antibacterial properties. So we won't ask about like why is it antibacterial? We'll have maybe some questions on, resin and why is it important. Yeah, so this kind of covers, yeah, pollen and bee bread, water. We might talk about the different larval diets. So, why does a worker become a worker and a queen becomes a queen? It's just based on they're receiving different food during development. So, queens are raised in these large queen cells, fed a lot of food, and that's why they become a queen, even though workers are queen are genetically exactly the same and they're both females. We might ask you questions about, males or drones become males because they're a result of an unfertilized egg, whereas queens and workers are from a fertilized egg. We might ask you about adult worker diets. We talk about tropholalaps. So, the workers are kind of feeding each other. That's one form of feeding, but the adults are kind of on their own for feeding.
Hey, Garrett, we can't see your screen.
Oh, you can't? Okay. Let me try that again. Thank you for letting me know that. Okay, can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. We'll go back. Yeah. Yeah. So right here we have the kind of overview of honeybee nutrition, nectar, pollen, water, resin. And then we talk about different sections like the bee bread, water, larval diet. And then we get to sugar feeding. So we might have questions about, what beekeepers are recommended to feed in the spring and in the summer or the winter, and why do we have those mixtures? So for example, we recommend feeding a 1-to-1 sugar solution because that helps the colonies brood up, deal with a poor brood pattern and dry out foundation. Whereas we recommend a 2-to-1 syrup solution in the fall to help honeybee colonies put on weight for the winter. We might ask a question about how much sugar we recommend in the winter. So here in Texas, we recommend honeybee colonies at least have 40 pounds of sugar to make it through the winter. So we'll have a question about that. I don't think we'll have I don't think we'll have questions on the feeding methods, but maybe know what a boardman feeder is, a frame feeder, top feeder, barrel feeder, granulated sugar fondants, and so on, and know about really the costs and benefits of each of these feeders. So if we ask a question is like, what are the costs of do barrel feeding, for example? And the answer could be, increases robbing. So it could be more robbing. The smaller colonies may get less food than the larger colonies, things like that. But we won't have feeders on a table and have you identify this is a boardman feeder, this is a frame feeder, and so on. We might just ask you a question about the costs and benefits of each feeding method. And then we ask you a question about winter feeding. Yeah, right here, 40 pounds of honey to survive throughout the winter. So we'll ask you probably a question based on that. Okay. That kind of covers the feeding and nutrition chapter. And then we get into week 7, which is swarming and bee removals. Okay, let me know if you see this. Yeah, so probably have a few questions on swarming. So what is swarming? Where do bees go to form their temporary home, which is, a tree branch or a fence post before they form a more permanent home. We'll probably have some questions on scout bees. So these are the bees that are flying out to find new homes and then communicate the new homes to other bees through a waggle dance. So we might ask you a question based on that, whether that's a multiple choice question or a true and false question. We might ask questions about, why bees swarm. Bees swarm based on there's not enough space, so they're very congested inside the colony. They swarm based on a lot of nutrients or resources in the colony. They also swarm just abscond from any diseases or pathogens impacting the colony. These are things that can trigger swarming, so reduction in queen mandibular pheromone, lack of space, overcrowding, and even genetics. I wouldn't worry too much about the timing, so like the weather and the time of the day when honeybee colonies typically swarm. But I would know about the scout bees and one, how are they finding potential new homes, like new nest sites, and how they use a waggle dance to communicate their findings to other bees, so a swarm can fly off and form a new colony. I would know about the different swarm management techniques. So one of the major swarm management techniques is to simply, maybe cut the swarm cells and add more space. You can also split the colony. You can do checkerboarding. So these are probably the three I would focus on. I wouldn't focus too much on high by reversals or the Demery method, but just kind of know the different methods for swarm management. There's different ways to do swarm bee, said bee removal techniques. Bee removal techniques, and so we talk about swarm traps, bee removals. But I would say specifically for this chapter, most of the questions will be really for swarming and swarm management, not necessarily too much on bee removals. Okay, that is week 7, and then week 8 we get into products of the hive. Okay, so really for products of the hive, I would also know, especially with honey, I would know about the moisture content. I probably know the different enzymes. So what do bees add to honey to convert it from nectar into honey? So invertase is, converts sucrose to simple sugars such as glucose, fructose. Um, so that's a really important one. The properties of honey. So I know about the properties of honeys. So honey is mostly kind of glucose and fructose. Um, Yeah, so this kind of just covers different products of the hive. We might have a few questions on beeswax, real jelly, maybe for some human usage, but I would really focus mostly on really the honey. But for this, I would definitely know the moisture content. So one thing we recommend is moisture content less than 18%. So you have a question about, if you're harvesting honey and it's 20%, um, is this good or bad? Which will say that, well, we recommend something below 18%. So we'll have a question probably based on that. And we might have a question just on, mead making and comb honey. That's week 8. And then we finally get into week 9, which is the history of beekeeping. Yeah, so for this, the one thing I would really focus on, we won't have too many questions on, these scientific names, for example. So we especially for this exam, for the apprentice exam, we won't be so like, what is Apis mellifera ligustica? What type of bee is that? Which is Italian honeybees. I wouldn't worry too much about that. We'll definitely have that as a question once you get to the advanced exam. For this exam, I wouldn't worry too much about that. The one thing I would really note is, Langstroth colonies, for example, like he identified the B space and he identified and invented the movable, removable frames. So I would definitely know his name. I'd probably know mellifera versus Apis cerana, and that the varroa mites jumped host from Apis cerana onto Apis mellifera, and then varroa made its way into the United States around 1987. Yeah, so really the bee space, removable frames, those are things I would really focus on. Yeah, we might have a few questions on Africanized honeybees, but they won't be too complicated. We talk about, they first made its way into text around 1990. I would know these dates about varroa mites making its way into the United States around 1987. So really know about those two different practices. Yeah, and I guess I would probably know the different eras. So really know that the beekeeping industry changed forever around 1852. So that's when the removable frames were invented, and that's when beekeepers started to become more migratory and started managing colonies at a large scale, rather than collecting honey straight from trees or managing honeybee colonies in skeps. Okay, perfect. Well, that kind of covers all the study guides. So I would just kind of go through all the study guides, and I think before we actually have the exams, maybe we'll have just sort of a review session again, and just kind of go over things because I know it's gonna be kind of a few months away before you guys actually take your exam. Some figures might be taking the exam in Abilene, so if you do want to have a review session beforehand, that's a really great opportunity. Any other questions based on the exam and what it looks like? Okay, I don't think so. But if you have any other questions, just let me know. But like I said, there's a practice exam on the Google Classroom and Google Course. If you take that, that'll basically cover and basically show you exactly what it looks like for the written exam. So 25 questions, true and false, and 25 questions for multiple choice, and you need at least 75%, 70% to pass a written exam. And the practical exam is mostly what pictures and hive equipment up. So we want you to identify what the hive equipment is. We'll want you to identify what those pictures of past pathogens, diseases look like. So we'll have those up, and then we'll take you out to the field to do a hive inspection. And then Lois said, how do we sign up for the exam? Yeah, so we will send out a link. We'll keep you guys up to date, and we'll have you basically sign up that way. If you want to the summer clinic, we'll send an email probably sometime the next couple of days for you guys to sign up. K. Smith said, as long as I have the knowledge to pass, is that acceptable, or can the test be taken without a year of experience? I'm learning everything I can before getting my own bees next spring. I've had the opportunity to work with a mentor in his apiary, but none of my own. Yeah, this is a really good question. So maybe you don't have your bees yet already, but maybe you've already worked with another beekeeper. So if you worked bees or worked with another mentor or beekeeper already, and if you feel comfortable going into a colony, you can definitely take the exam. So I mean, I've had people that haven't had colonies yet, but as long as you have some experience inspecting a colony, that should be good. Kent, you have a question?
Yes, I was just wondering. I know we're supposed to sign up for the before we take the test. I think it's something to do with the inspection or there's something. I can't remember. It was
Yeah.
talking more about it at the beginning. So I just want to, since it come to my
Yeah.
mind, I want to know what we need to do and how to do it.
Sure, sure. Yeah. On our Master Beekeeping website, I'll send you a link. Maybe Heather's on here, so you can share the link. But we do recommend you registering your colonies if you do have colonies with a Texas Apiary Inspection Service. We're sort of making this optional, but if you guys do want to register your colonies, we do recommend doing so. But you can go on their website to register your colonies, but we also have a link on our Master Beekeeping face or website. So
Okay.
let me pull that up. So here's our website. So if you go to Apprentice and Apprentice level, we have kind of these different requirements. Like I said, we're kind of making this apiary inspection registration optional, but you can go right here to register your colonies.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yep, you see it. Yeah.
Okay.
But like I said, so you guys already took your beekeeping 101 course. So you guys are good for this requirement. 1 year beekeeping experience, that means that you've inspected a colony or been around colonies for at least a full summer. And then, we do have a recommended reading list. So you want to buy some extra books. We do have some recommended reading. But really, all the reading material we have posted on the Google Drive and Classroom should be more than enough to take the exam. But yeah, these are really great books to purchase.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll come back here. So Chris said, "Sorry, I was driving at the time. Did you say that there was going to be one in Austin?" Yeah, I need to talk to a beekeeper that's colonies in Austin because we'll have one in San Antonio for sure since we already have a A&M basically location there. But maybe there's a like a bee club with an apiary that we can work with. So I'm still gonna work on Austin, but yeah, I think we'll have one in Austin, San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, East Texas, and then somewhere in West Texas. Dan said, "Yep, you need to bring your own protective gear, but we'll provide all the smoker fuel. We do recommend providing your smoker, but before you come to the exam, we'll send you a whole list of stuff you need to bring." Mindy said, "I don't have bees yet, but I got my suit and frames this week and plan on going to mentor for this bee inspection." Yeah, perfect. So once you get your bees and once you start working with a mentor, it's a great opportunity to learn how to do hive inspection, how to find everything within the colony. And so by the time you guys are ready to take the exam, probably September, you already have a little bit of beekeeping experience. Sarah said, "Are there any beekeepers in Austin that might be interested in taking swarmers from me?" You can send me an email, and I can send it out to any beekeepers in Austin. There might be a few. I know we have a whole a bee removal list, and so that could be a good opportunity. Or maybe some beekeeper here wants bees. They might be willing to come out and grab the bees. Chris said, "I recently got another hive and want to add them to my other two hives and need a tag for it. How do you go about doing that?" Yeah, Chris, if you already signed up for the tags, we're printing those right now, about to get those sent. So I would kind of fill out that survey as soon as possible so we can add and give you a few extra tags. Yeah, so Billy said, "What's the best way to stay informed?" So what I'll probably do is add you guys all to our Google listserv. Actually, that's a really good question. So you guys see this webpage? I would join this listserv right here. So go right here, and this is where I send emails to the whole Text Master Beekeeper program. So I would join this listserv, and they get involved with all of our emails. So just click this, and then you can sign up and subscribe to our email list. So I would highly recommend joining that listserv. You can also go to our Facebook page. So go to our website. You can go to our Facebook page and follow any updates that way. We also have our Texas A&M extension page. So you want to follow any other updates about what we're doing as an extension program. This is all on our Facebook page right here. So let me put that in. Let me put that in the chat just so you guys have it. Yeah, so Sarah said, yeah, Natalie and Les. Yeah, so maybe I talk to them about doing it. I'm going there probably in another month or so, but yeah, I think it's a great opportunity. I think somebody had their hands raised for a question. I forgot who it was. Maybe it was Billy or somebody that had their hand raised. But if you have any questions, yeah, feel free to unmute yourself and ask. Okay, Megan said, "Will we have access to the course materials once the class over?" Yeah, yeah. So Megan, I covered this already, but you have access to the Google Drive, which I'll send out. Um, yeah, and also the YouTube videos will all be up as long as you want access to them. And so, yeah, I think the Google Drive is the best place for all the videos because we'll have everything in the Google Drive. But you guys will have access to that as long as you need. And Megan, I guess you missed this part, but we'll be publishing our Master Beekeeping Handbook. So I've been sending you chapters of that handbook as you progress through that course. But we'll be publishing that book sometime in the near future. So I'll send you guys all a copy of that book once it's finished. Hopefully, hopefully the next few months or so. But I've been kind of writing this book as we go. But this will be the main resource for the whole Master Beekeeping program. So the first 10 chapters will be for the apprentice course, the next 10 for the advanced course, and then the rest of the chapters will be for the master and master craftsman course. Okay. Yeah, Kent, did you have another question? Or maybe still just have your hand raised.
Oh, no, I don't have another question.
You good? Okay. Yeah, so Margie said, is the test timed? No, it's not timed. We have a slot from 1 to 5, so we have 4 hours, but I really don't think it'll take you more than an hour, hour and a half. Some PQs get done really quickly, some don't take as long. So yeah, but it's not time. Hopefully it doesn't take you, I guess, 10 hours. I guess maybe we'll limit at 5 hours, but I really don't think it'll take you more than an hour. And one of the questions was, do you get your results back right away? Yeah, so we'll try to grade it as soon as possible and get your results back the day of. And then once you pass, we'll send you a certificate. We'll have a hive tag. We have like a patch that you put onto your bee suit, and this patch has different I guess rocker patch you go underneath it. So once you pass your apprentice, you get an apprentice patch that goes underneath that main patch. If you pass your advanced, you get another patch, master, and so on. Lucy said, for after you are done with the exam review, should we have already received calling tags? Yeah, I'll send them out here probably this week. It's been kind of hectic in this course finish, but now that I can focus more on the hive tags, but I just want to give beekeepers another opportunity. But if you guys do your hive inspections, and you can send me your report so I can give you a review and maybe send you a report what it looks like, but I'm hoping to have them ready. So maybe by the first week of May, we can start doing our hive inspections, and I can send you a colony report so you can see what your colonies look like, but also how they compare to other beekeepers. And like I said, everything will be anonymous. So even though I'm comparing maybe your mite levels to beekeepers across the state, everything will be anonymous, so nobody will have your name, but you'll know what your information is. Okay. Okay, perfect. Yeah, and if you have a question, yeah, please speak. 'Cause I think Brian had his hand raised. Hey, Brian, do you have a question? You good? Okay. Okay, so yeah, Sarah just talked about bee removals. Amber said, I'm ready for the nutrition feeding chapter. Yeah, I'm almost done with the feeding chapter. That's really the only one I'm missing. So I have everything finished. But yeah, I really I really appreciate you guys all patience for this first time of this course. You know, really, this is kind of we're kind of feeling this course out, so I'm really excited that you guys gave me a lot of really great feedback. But really, by next year, we'll have the whole handbook, and so once you guys if you guys do decide to go into the advanced level, we'll have the whole handbook, and so you'll have access to all the reading material before the course even starts. We're moving everything off Google Classroom. We had to use Classroom this first year, but eventually it'll all go onto the tracking module. So I really appreciate all your patience with the Google Classroom because I know it's been a pain for everybody. So I appreciate the patience, and eventually I'll be on that Google Classroom. So I really appreciate everybody's patience throughout the course. But yeah, like I said, I'll be posting the nutrition chapter here shortly, probably the next couple days. That's really the last one I'm missing. And then once you have that, I think I should have all the chapters posted online. Yep, Chris, I'll keep the videos up online. Yep, everything will be online posted really indefinitely. Yeah, and if you guys do want to schedule another session, please let me know. And one thing we could do is we could have maybe an open apiary session where we do have apiaries across state now that Omar's on board and Lauren's on board. So if we do want to schedule maybe a meeting and come out to the bee yard for maybe an hour and walk through the colonies, we can definitely schedule something with no cost involved. And so maybe I'll schedule something in May. And if beekeepers want to come to one of our apiaries across the state, we can kind of go through the inspection, walk through the colonies, and more importantly, meet everybody. I know we've been kind of talking over teams the last 10 weeks, but it'd be cool to get everybody together. Yeah, maybe like a field day. So let me schedule that. In the meantime, let me get you guys Omar's information because I know you guys had questions for him. Okay, here's Omar's information. Yeah, so Chris said I have a friend with 14 Africanized hives and he's trying to queen. Is there any way he can get help? They in Cameron. Um, I can send an email to the advanced level beekeepers. So these are all the beekeepers that pass that first level, and they're always looking for volunteer hours, for example. So that helping a beekeeper with this could qualify as some of their volunteer hours. So yeah, Chris, why don't you send me an email? Put it right here. I guess you probably have it already. But yeah, just shoot me an email and send it out to the rest of the group, and there might be a beekeeper around the area that can help. Dave, you have a question?
I was trying to come off mute. Thanks. Yes. Question. I think I saw something about a bee lab on the A&M Rellis campus in Bryan College Station. Is that something that's available just to come see their operation or exactly what's going on there?
Yeah, you'd probably have to schedule with Juliana Rangel. She's a professor in College Station. So I'm actually not located there. So you can contact her. I can put her email down here, or you can contact the Apiary Inspection Service because they both share that facility. I guess you can just contact the Apiary Inspection Service and just contact them and see if you can get a tour or not. My bee lab is located near Tyler, Texas. And so if you want to come see my bee lab, I'm happy to give you a full tour. We have a bee lab. We're starting our breeding program in the next couple weeks or so, and so we can give you a full tour. But yeah, if you want to go to College Station, you have to contact the Apiary Inspection Service or Juliana for a tour.
Okay, great.
Okay, I think that's the last question. Amanda said, "Can there be optional Google Meetup leading up to?" Yeah, I think we schedule a meetup right before all the exams. Just to do sort of a quick primer, and I can also test. I can also post like another example test so you can see what that test looks like. So Dwayne says we're in my lab in Overton. Let me get the address for that. Here's my lab, and yeah, yeah. If you guys want to schedule a time, maybe like a Google day to come to my lab, that'd be great. We do have bees there, and so we can schedule a master beekeeping exam soon or later. You guys can come at any time, and we can have you take the exam. That's where Heather's located. Jay Dirk said apple cider vinegar. Yeah, so I actually so his question was, let's say a lot of people say that you can add apple cider vinegar to change the pH of the sugar water and that helps the bees. One thing I told a lot of beekeepers is the bees are really good at processing the nectar. So what bees do when you feed them sugar water, they take the syrup and then they process that, whether consuming that or storing it into the cells. And so the bees are already changing the pH and adding the enzymes. So in my opinion, I don't think adding apple cider vinegar really does that much benefit because the bees are already doing the work anyways. You can definitely add apple cider vinegar if you want, but the bees are still processing it and changing the pH that they want. So, I've tried it before. I didn't notice any differences, and so you can definitely give it a shot. But just know that the bees are basically doing all the work anyway. So, in my opinion, I think it's sort of unnecessary. Yeah, so yeah, maybe we can try to schedule a time for us all to get together because I think it'd be good to maybe have, and we can almost schedule maybe different sessions throughout this year, maybe 3 to 4 meetups throughout this year, and just kind of cover the things you should be looking for from the spring, the summer, and then into the fall. Because it's one thing to learn all this online, but to actually get hands-on practical experience is probably the most important part. So that's why I always recommend to beekeepers to find a local club, find a mentor, find a local beekeeper because there's only so much you can learn online. Because I'm sure over this past 30 hours, you guys have forgotten a lot of things. So maybe you can schedule some things throughout the rest of the year. Yeah, so another question would it be too late to discuss the queen rearing process after a split or loss of a queen from a timeline perspective and what needs to be available? Yeah, so I actually covered queen rearing and splitting colonies for the advanced level. And I can share that video with you along with the reading material. So if you guys want access to that, I can share that all with you. And like I said, once you have the handbook, all that will be in the handbook. But I do have like a 3 hour session just on how to split a colonies, how to rear queens. And so I can send that to you guys afterwards. Yeah, Alicia. Yeah, I can give you access to the advanced reading materials. Yep, that's fine with me. Yeah, because we cover pesticides, we cover native bees, we cover bee plants, and so these are all things that you guys are probably interested in. For the apprentice, level, there's only so much I can cover in 10 weeks. I don't want to give you guys too much information, but yeah, I guess we can talk about the advanced level a little bit. So I can show you the study guide we did for the advanced level. Let's go to it. Yeah, because we had the advanced level on Tuesdays from 9 to 3. So let me. I think we had a syllabus right here. Okay, hold on one second. Let me pull this up. In the meantime, yeah, Brian, while I pull this up, you can ask your question. Okay, for some reason it's not pulling up. Okay. Anyway, I'll just share this quick. Yeah, these are different weeks we covered, and so for week 2 for the advanced level, we covered pesticides and the advanced viral management. So you talked more in depth about viral management. Week 3, we talked about native pollinators across Texas. Week 3, we talked about honeybee genetics and different breeds and different lines. Then week 5, we talked about splitting and diagnosing queen issues. 6, we talked a lot about honey extraction, bottling, and selling. So we touched about that very briefly. We covered a lot more depth about how to sell honey in the state of Texas, how to extract, and things to do to deal with the moisture level. Week 7, we talked about how to raise queens and how to breed queens. Mentoring communication. So one thing with the advanced level, the beekeepers need to get 25 volunteer hours before they take the advanced level exam. So we talk about how to mentor and how to get those volunteer hours. And then last week we had Wizzy Brown talk about honeybee plants. So how to design a pollinator garden, what plants you should be planting throughout the year in Texas, and things like that. So if you guys want access to all the reading materials, we can definitely share that with you. Yeah, because these are probably things that you guys are interested in. I just have time to cover it during the 10 weeks. Okay, perfect. Yeah, looks like there's some interest. So I will share that with you guys. And then hopefully by next year, guys, once you guys all pass the apprentice exam, I know you guys will all do really great. We'll have our 10-week course probably around the same time next year in February. So we'll have it for 10 weeks every Tuesday. Same format as this. We'll have a mixture of live sessions and recordings if you can't make it. But perfect. Let's kind of coordinate maybe a field day to come out to one of our locations. It'd be great for you guys to meet, whether you're in Houston, maybe to meet Lauren, if you're in San Antonio, to meet Molly, if you're in East Texas, to meet me, or if you want to travel a distance up to East Texas, we're happy to host you guys in Overton to see our facility, see our lab, and do the testing up here. Okay, perfect. Well, with that, I think that kind of covers the whole exam. And if there's any other questions or comments, please let me know. We will be sending a short survey afterwards, and we want you guys to be as honest as possible about this course. This is the first time we've ever had this course, and I think having the live sessions has been really useful. I know a lot of the programs have them all recorded, but I think it's really great to have this kind of one-on-one interaction. So I think we'll keep the live courses for the foreseeable future. But if there's any comments or any feedback, please be really honest because this is the first time we've had this course and we're hoping to make some really great modifications in the future. Okay, so Billy says resources from CAT. Will it be compiled anywhere? What do you mean by that, Billy? What do you mean by chat? Yeah, I think Heather's been posting all the chat information in the Google Drive and Google Classroom. Okay, perfect. Well, with that, I really appreciate you guys all your time. I know 30 hours is a lot, but yeah, I'm really excited to see this entire program grow. And so, yeah, hopefully I can see you guys all at maybe kind of open apiary session. But in the meantime, I'm a resource, Omar's a resource, and Lauren's a resource. And so if you have any questions, pictures, or any comments, please let us know because we're happy to help any way possible. Or if there's any modifications, please let us know. Okay, perfect. Thank you guys. And you guys all have Have a great rest of your B year, and let me know how everything goes. And I'll send you guys tags, and so we'll keep in touch on that.
All right. Thank you for everything.
Thank you, Kent.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. This has been great.